Hi there, hope everybody is doing great. As all of you guys know that I make content about science research, scholarship, study abroad and all the relevant subject that could help a student or an aspiring researcher or an entrepreneur. And in today's video, I got an opportunity to interact with Dr. Daria, who is based in Europe and have worked and studied in different countries and is a scientific communicator. And why scientific communication? Scientific communication is one of the most important field in the area of the science to share science, to discuss science in form of words, pictures, videos, and it is kind of a booming field. But many of us are not aware how to find opportunities or how to become a scientific communicator. So if you are one of those guys who wants to communicate their findings or who want to figure out a way to display their information in an easy way so that a large number of people can watch it or understand it, then this video is for you because you're going to understand the overall process of becoming a scientific communication and what is scientific communication. Stay tuned, guys.
Okay.
Hi, guys. Welcome to Talk with Nick. Today, I have with me Daria, who is a scientist, PhD in plant physiology, and a scientific communicator. And we have a special content for all the students, undergraduate, masters, and PhD who have doubts and curiosity on how to become a scientific communicator or illustrator. So, thank you so much, Daria, for coming into the show.
Thank
I
you
have
very much.
already introduced you, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What have you done and where do you come from?
Yes, thanks a lot for inviting me here. It's really a pleasure. My first time, so I'm a little bit nervous, but yeah. So yeah, you introduced me quite well. I'm Daria, and I was born in Poland, but I grew up in Germany, and now I live in Sweden. That's usually what I say when people ask me. And I've studied biology, basic biology. Quite quickly, I realized that plants are my favorite subject, so I focused on plants. And then I went for half a year to the US to work there in a lab. And then after that, I started my PhD in Sweden in plant physiology. And during my PhD, I realized, I think I want to do something else. I don't fit into the academic system so much. And I realized I like to illustrate a lot. So I decided I start my own company after my PhD. And that's what I've been basically doing. I work as an illustrator since almost 3 years now. Yeah,
Oh,
in short,
wow.
that's
That's
how it
really
is.
great. Yeah. So, when you realized it almost 3 years ago that you want to be an illustrator, do you used to have any habits during your undergraduate school and master school that you like to paint, you like to draw, or you like to create arts, or it was
Yeah,
just during the PhD?
no. Actually, it was always like this. I always liked to draw and to paint since I was tiny, and
Oh,
also in school. And when I finished high school, I was like, okay, really like arts and all this, and I really like science. So what should I go for? And it didn't even cross my mind that I can couple it. So I thought like, okay, I can't imagine drawing digitally like computers. No, hell no. So I went for science, studied biology, and then bit by bit during my master and bachelor thesis, I did some creative works, but really in my PhD, I realized, okay, this is something that's actually really needed as well. And then I started to digitally draw all kinds of scientific illustrations. And then it really everything came together and I was like, oh, I can actually couple it. If I would have known after high school, but maybe I needed the journey to realize in my PhD.
yeah, for sure. Because in order to illustrate science, you need to know science, and a PhD gives you an opportunity to explore science in that way, right?
Yes, totally. Without it, it's something is lacking. So you can't. I mean, there's brilliant illustrators out there, and I cannot even stand close to them. But I have the advantage of having the science, so I can. It's easier for me to do scientific illustrations. Yeah.
All right, all right. So science is will always give you a plus point to communicate your findings or even communicate other people finding because you can
Yeah.
grasp that more more nicely
Yes.
as compared to the other illustrator. Okay,
I
so
think it's mainly because of this, scientific language. I guess it's very different. Like people that are not in science will have hard time understanding it, and sometimes a scientist from another field has
yeah,
troubles understanding a scientist from another field. So I think it's a big advantage. Yeah.
and that's very well said. Like based on that, I have a question. Like
Hmm.
scientific communication, science is very complex to the general public. And the work that you are doing it for some sort of targeted audience, or you are doing it for the general public? And how do you make your content?
So I hmm, I mainly, like, my customers come to me, they are scientists or life science companies, so it's quite specific what I then usually illustrate. But sometimes I also have a customer that they regular do like social media campaigns on Twitter and Facebook. And then, for example, I can draw in a little bit of an easier way, in like a more comic style, for example, so that it reaches the general audience as well. It's a bit more funny, and not like super strict and how it should be in a publication, for example. So these things reach a general audience, but also always, like, I feel the common ground is people that are interested in science in general, so they kind of drawn to it. I think the easier way of illustrating would also attract somebody that's not so much into science, while
All right.
the strictly scientific illustrations for grants or publications specifically, they are still complex, but at least easier to understand for
Yeah.
somebody that knows science. So it's like
Uh,
yeah, a balance.
okay. Okay. I understand. And do you
Also,
think?
in case I
Yeah.
don't answer your questions properly, just tell me, like, okay,
Okay.
I meant like this.
No, I will pick up from those points and try to keep going on. Like you said, like that the content that you are creating, the illustrations that you're creating, is for somebody who understands the science a little bit. But I believe that a lot of people, even in the general public, they don't study science, but they are still interested in science.
Mm.
So that's where I figured it out. Like, if in the world of today's scientific communication, which is quite big, and there is a lot of opportunities, that's how it looks. So is there any way that we could make the available scientific communication tools and connect it with the general public? Because the way we write scientific publications cannot be reach out to the general public easily. But the
No.
way you are doing scientific communication, I think, can have a connection with the general public.
Yes, I agree. Well, what we could do about this, I mean, there is this like trend of starting like graphical abstracts, for example, by journals, right? So then they have this like visual summaries of a scientific article. They are often openly available, which is already one step forward. But I think it might need some more efforts where journals, societies, researchers do more outreach and want to have something that represents it in an easy way, and interact with the audience. These typical outreach activities that scientists have to do. But oftentimes scientists are not paid for that. They have so many things to do, like grants, publications, lead experiments, lead your group. And then there's this tiny part of scientific communication and outreach. Nobody gets anything for that. So maybe the
Yeah.
incentive is not as, like, okay, oh, I need to survive, kind of, I need to get money to make my science. um I don't know, maybe it should be extra, like some extra. I always tell my customers, if you write your brand, write in like you need a budget for scientific communication and outreach. So you get somebody like me that can illustrate your stuff. You put it on your webpage, you put it on your Twitter, on all, so you spread it into the world to other people. Maybe also, like, we know it would be awesome if every like paper that's like coming out needs to have a general public summary. That
Oh
would be
yeah,
the best. That would
for
be,
sure.
and it should be open access, and just like some kind of collection of this. It of course needs again effort from the scientist to write it in an or from a communicator at the department that writes it in an easy way, and then maybe an illustration. But then again, the people
Oh,
need to have budget for hiring somebody like me.
indeed,
Um,
indeed. It would be amazing if that could happen. And I believe that in today's digital world, it is happening, because now a lot of scientific communicators are popping up through Instagram, through YouTube, through LinkedIn, and I'm able to connect with them. So it is one of the ways that I'm able to reach out to the general
yeah.
public, not the general public, but yes, definitely the students at undergraduate level or master's levels who are interested in the science. And
Yes.
like you mentioned about the money and the opportunities, now my question comes up, like, is there a good number of opportunities in scientific communication? And how can one find that there are opportunities in the scientific communication and they can make a career out of it?
I think there is more and more of these things coming out. How to find them? Well, it's kind of, I'm not sure if I'm the right person to ask it, because I just made mine, like I just realized, oh, I like to do this, so let's start a company. So I started my company and just started doing it. So that's one
Fantastic.
possibility. You just like jump into it, and while you're having maybe a part-time position, you start either writing or illustrating or communicating, or your channel like you do, you start it on the side, and something might evolve through time and you create your own little thing. That's, I think, one possibility. Otherwise, I mean, it's a lot about network. So if you know people, just ask around, try to, these communication positions, they are coming more often, I feel. I've known, I have like some friends that have been doing PhD or postdoc together with me. Afterwards, the department decided they need a communicator. They applied for that position and they became the communicator. So these kinds of things. But I think it's super variable, very flexible.
Yeah,
For
I
me
think you are the
personally,
right person to answer this question because you have started the company. And
yes.
I'm going to ask you in that way, like, how did you find your first client as a startup?
Uh, the people that I know. This is how I started. So it's basically in my PhD around the half time, and in Sweden the PhD is 5 years because we do 1 year of teaching. Around like 2.5, 3 years, I realized, okay, that's not what I want, but I want to do scientific illustrations. And then I started to illustrate for myself first. So people saw it, my bosses, my group, like everybody in the department, they realized, oh, she's doing this, great. And then they came to me and asked for it. And in my PhD, I did it, on the side. And then I had like suddenly PIs coming to me like, oh, could you help me with this? I will pay you. They couldn't pay me because I had a full paid position. So they waited actually 2 years until I started my company to then pay me for this. But I started basically my own network, and then that grew. So people got to know about it, and then they spread it. And now it's like 3 years after, and I still have like people coming to me that I from the beginning know. So there was already a trust, and they've seen my work. So now they are coming and they are spreading it. They talk to others and they come to me like, oh, I have heard of, could you do this for me? And then, yeah, this is how it basically started. But this makes it grow because it's word by mouth spreading, and people telling others about somebody doing this already, spread some trust as well. So people come to me and think like, okay, it's going to work because my friend has been working with her. But then also like now it's a lot through social media, like LinkedIn, for example, how we found each other, or Twitter. People approach me because they see my work, because I expose it. Then it's just like they see it, they like it, they contact me, we talk. If they like me, we work. If they don't like me, I don't know. Didn't happen so far. I didn't feel it, at least, or like if there's a budget or not. There's other factors, of course. Yeah, this is how it grows. It takes a while, but I think, to quickly answer your question, it start in your own network first, and then like I think it's good to find or create your own thing, what you like, and not always to be dependent on what positions are written out. I thought that's what I like, I love it, I tried it, and then I create my own little bubble of whatever I want to do.
That's fantastic. That's really amazing. And now my question is like, do you have any other team members, co-founders along with you, or is just you solo?
It's just me, but I did like recently start a collaboration with an animator, because I'm part of a startup incubator, and there are like a lot of other creative people sitting, and there is this animator that I get to know, and we work together on some things. So I'm basically illustrating and he's animating it, and
Wow.
that's really awesome. Animation was always on my list. I need to learn it, but I need to learn so many things. I want to learn so many things. It's great to like then collaborate with somebody else, so you can discuss ideas back and forth. So in that way we're collaborating on things, but he's not an official partner, I'm not an official partner of his company. So it's
Okay.
just like,
That's great. That's really amazing.
yeah, and that's something that I like for now, to like expand on this as well. And then I don't know if in the future how it will look. I'm not sure, I can't tell yet after that short time, I don't know.
Maybe there will be some short movies, some short documentaries, working with the labs. It's going to be amazing. The field is amazing. It's a lot of opportunities to create communication in the form of pictures. words, videos. It's gonna be phenomenal. I think you have a bright future.
Yeah, thank you. I hope so.
Yeah. So we were talking about illustration, animations, and all these things. Now I'm curious a little bit about the skill sets that one can gather in their undergraduate school, master schools, or even during the PhD if they want to aim to become a scientific communicator.
Yes. So so it depends on what you want to do, right? Let's say if you want to like either illustrate or write, and you just well, what you just start doing it. This is okay. No, I mean, this is for me personally. I learn a lot by doing it. So if I like something, I start doing it, and then I feel like also the opportunities pop up, things come, and there's always some kind of like events, or like in my case, Fascination of Plants Day, for example, once per year. And if you're into it, you make a little booth and you present it, and you make a presentation or like a poster or some kind of like interactive thing that families and kids can come and interact with you and learn something about it. So I think you have to be very proactive into finding the opportunities where you can actually interact and do something you like. People usually appreciate this a lot because it's difficult to find people doing extra work. So I would suggest like keep your eyes open and always like try to look for opportunities where you can jump in and help out and do things and suggest ideas. This is something that people really appreciate a lot. Of course, that means some extra time that you have to put aside to do these things, but it's often worth it, I feel. And then when it comes to like, of course, so in my case, we had to also do some courses on the side in the PhD. And of course, I did some microscopy courses, protein extraction, all these kind of, molecular biology stuffs to collect my points. But at some point, there was no courses that I was interested in. And so I was like, oh, damn it, I'm not going to do, sorry, I shouldn't swear maybe. I'm not going to do something that is not like of value for me. So I basically then found an online course in scientific illustration, like the classical one, like with pen and paper. I asked my supervisors, can I do this? Because I want to do this after my PhD. And they said like, sure, fine. They had to pay for it in addition. And then the other thing I've created my own course where I taught people at the department how to use Illustrator for making illustrations and graphs. So for this, I also got course points for my PhD, but then I learned how to teach as well and set up a course. So there's all these kind of tiny possibilities that you can just create for yourself. If you want to do something, and you just suggest it, and hopefully the people that support you say yes, and you learn certain types of other skills. If that's not in the general course program, try to create your own course. Try to ask for something else, whatever you like to do. Don't always like, I would say like, don't always try to think outside of the box. Not always what's only offered, that's the only possibility. Just try to make things up that, you can move on forward. I think that was, and I think when you do a PhD or you study, there's a lot of skills that are underestimated that can help afterwards. Like all these kinds of like doing a PhD is not easy. It's a tough journey. So all these kinds of resilience, you work with things, you always come up with solutions and problems, and you troubleshoot. All these tiny skills, they help you as well with this. And afterwards, whatever you want to do, because you will find solutions for a problem that you have automatically because you're taught to do it. So these skills are very subconsciously happening. You think like, oh, I can't do anything but PCR and I don't know, Western blots. No, that's not true. You can do shitloads of other things. You can apply those to whatever you want. So
Very
in
well
short.
said. Yeah, that's very well said. I really like your answer. I mean, you're talking like an entrepreneur. You're talking like a scientist. I hope that all the students who are in the undergraduate, master's, PhD watching this video can get the value out of what you are saying, because it is coming after so much of experience. Very well said. And now you just mentioned that you provided the course to your colleagues and in the department. Do you offer any course through a website or through any other platforms that students can get access to?
No, actually, I don't offer courses. I have, I have the basics for it because I've done this course at the department, but I somehow don't know if I don't know if it's wanted, needed, because there's so many little videos out there, and I don't know if it would add any value. I
Oh, got
have
it.
people asking me about tips, like they want to do it, what programs would I suggest, these types of things, but I don't know if it's of value. I
Okay.
have thought about it a lot.
So what programs and tips, if you have to give to the general public, what would be those programs?
Mm, Well, it can be like when it comes to illustrations, I mainly use Adobe Illustrator and Procreate. This is what
Okay.
I have started with, depending on vector or pixel-based illustrations. But you have to, at least for Adobe Illustrator, you have to pay. So there's freewares out there, like Inkscape and so on and so forth. There are several that you don't have to pay much for, or anything for, and then you just use them. And this is usually what I suggest. I tell people, okay, depending on your budget, and if you're at an institute, sometimes they have this this packages where you automatically already get all the whatever the creative cloud soup programs. Then you can start with those, but it's basically on pick whatever you want, because it doesn't really matter which program. It just matters that you're good at it and that you practice it. It's all about practice, getting used to it, and then just using it. It's whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I mean, a lot of people use PowerPoint. I think there are better programs, but it's the most convenient. But because everybody has it,
Yeah.
So it's really individual. And also the thing is, as I do this and I decided to do this professionally, I got myself a graphic tablet. So I actually have a pen as well that I draw on my screen, because drawing with the mouse is really annoying and it doesn't give you the same outcomes. But then would I suggest to anybody, get yourself a graphic tablet and all this fancy stuff? If they don't really want to do it, I wouldn't. I was crazy enough to just get these things because I knew I wanted to do it. It's an investment in me and my future. But that's something I don't know, I don't want to tell somebody, get this fancy equipment. If they just want to do it for fun, for example, Then when it comes to writing, scientific communication writing, I don't know, but there's
Okay.
you can Word. I don't know.
That's fantastic. I think I've got all my questions and I've got all my answers through this video right now. But if you have anything in the end to say about scientific communication, illustration, and enlighten the people what's going to happen in next few years in this field, if you can give your prediction.
I think it's totally worth to become a scientific illustrator, because there's so much need out there. It's just growing. I basically have you can have customers all over the world, in South America and Australia, wherever, Europe, wherever. And there's always research going on. There's always life science companies, startups popping up. They need these things. There's always it's I cannot sometimes, sometimes people ask me, okay, how big is the piece of the cake of the market that you're having with the customers? I can't even estimate, because it could be anybody. So there's a big need for people doing scientific communication and illustration specifically, and each one of us has their own skill set, their own network. So it's always, I think, gonna pay off. It's not easy to start your own company and start working for yourself, these kind of things. That's something to consider. But totally, if you want to become a scientific illustrator, do it. It's amazing. It's awesome.
All right. Thank you so much, Daria, for giving us a lot of precise information and about scientific communication, all these fantastic tools that you have shared with us. I think it's going to be very, very useful for all the undergraduate and master students. Thank you very much for your time once again.
Yes, you're welcome. Thanks a lot again. And I hope it was of value.
Oh, one more question. If you can send me the link of your website or anything that you want to share, I will put all those links in my description of the video so that people can check you out.
Okay, cool. Thanks a lot. That's awesome.
You're welcome. Okay. Ciao.
Bye.